Hey there, you ready to suit up? We're going deep on Iron Man 2 today, but forget to just skimming the surface. We've got your intel right here.
Yeah.
Articles, the works. And trust me, there's more to this movie than meets the arc reactor.
Absolutely. You're about to see how Iron Man 2 isn't just a superhero flick, it's a snapshot of like the film industry at a turning point. We're talking creative gambles, tech revolutions, and yeah, maybe even a dash of Hollywood drama.
Okay, first up, this Wikipedia entry throws us right into sequel territory. Apparently, Jon Favreau, the director, didn't just want to make one Iron Man movie. He had a whole trilogy planned from the get-go.
Did, and get this, he was originally saving Ironmonger for a later film.
Whoa, hold on. Why? Are you serious? They were going to save Ironmonger for later. That changes everything. So why the last-minute villain swap?
So they brought in like the comic book big guns,
Oh, wow.
including Mark Miller, for advice. And that decision to bring Ironmonger forward actually set the stage for the entire MCU, establishing this pattern of introducing these compelling villains early on, which, really raised the stakes for every hero's journey that followed.
Wow. Talk about a ripple effect, huh? It makes you realize how one choice can just change the entire game.
Yeah.
And speaking of game changers, we've got to address the elephant, or rather, the war machine in the room. Terrence Howard to Don Cheadle. Your sources hint at some serious behind-the-scenes action with that casting switch.
Right. And while the specifics are still, shrouded in a bit of Hollywood mystery, it seems contract negotiations played a major role.
Oh, I bet.
Apparently, Howard was the highest paid actor in the first film, and things got a little complicated, shall we say, when it came to the sequel.
You're telling me, knowing Tony Stark, he probably caused half those contract disputes himself. But, seriously, Don Cheadle stepping into the role of Rhodey was, inspired. How do you even begin to prepare for a role like that, especially replacing another actor?
So Cheadle's approach was brilliant in its simplicity. He focused on the core of Rhodey, that unshakable friendship with Tony Stark, He knew that no matter the suit, the heart of War Machine was his bond with Iron Man.
That makes sense. Anchoring the character in that relationship. But get this, Cheadle admitted that he thought Iron Man was a literal robot before he signed on.
Yes.
He hadn't even seen the first film.
It's true. He just assumed Iron Man was a completely CGI creation. Talk about a crash course in the Marvel Universe. Oh my gosh.
It just goes to show how groundbreaking those visual effects were in that first film.
That's hilarious. And speaking of powerful characters, we can't forget Scarlett Johansson's debut as Black Widow. What an entrance.
Absolutely iconic. And talk about dedication. Johansson dyed her hair red before she even auditioned for the role.
Now that's commitment.
Oh, yeah.
Clearly, she was born to be Black Widow, and she wasn't the only one who went above and beyond for this film. Your source mentions Mickey Rourke, who plays Whiplash, took method acting to a whole new level to get into character.
He really did. Rourke dove deep into that role, literally, like figuratively.
Yeah.
We're talking prison visits to really understand Whiplash's backstory, custom-made gold teeth that he paid for out of his own pocket. He even suggested that some of Whiplash's lines be in Russian. Talk about dedication. Wow, that's intense. Talk about commitment to a role. But you know what really blew me away were the Iron Man and War Machine suits. They're on a whole other level compared to the first film.
Oh, for sure. The visual effects in Iron Man 2 were like a turning point for superhero cinema. Industrial light and magic. The wizards of VFX really upped their game for this one.
My source mentioned that they ditched the mostly practical suit approach from the first film and went almost entirely CGI for Iron Man and War Machine.
Yeah.
What a massive undertaking that must have been.
Yeah, it was groundbreaking. They developed a new motion capture technique for the flight sequences, which allowed for this fluidity and realism we'd never seen before. It wasn't just about like creating a suit, it was about making the audience believe that Tony Stark was the suit.
And they pulled it off flawlessly. Those flight scenes were breathtaking.
Yeah.
But those CGI suits, they must have presented a unique challenge, right?
Yeah.
Especially when it came to the more physical scenes.
Right. And that's where the magic of blending, practical effects with CGI comes in. For close-ups and scenes where the actors needed to, physically interact with their environment, they used partially constructed, like, practical suits.
Wow.
It's that, that seamless blend of practical and digital that made those visuals so believable,
And immersive.
And let's not forget the environments, the Stark Expo, that insane racetrack sequence in Monaco brought to life with this like stunning detail thanks to CGI. But okay, Before we move on, we have to talk about Stan Lee's cameo. You can't have an Iron Man movie without a Stan Lee cameo, right? It's practically a law of physics at this point. And this time we see Stan the Man being mistaken for Larry King.
Oh, yep.
Pure comedic gold, as always.
Classic Stan, always a good laugh. But, beneath all the high-flying action and the hilarious cameos, Iron Man 2 explores some surprisingly deep themes.
Yeah.
Especially like with Tony Stark's character.
Absolutely. This film does not shy away from Tony's anxieties about, his legacy, his fear of mortality.
That's right.
Especially with his health issues. This is a man who's staring his own mortality in the face.
Right. And then there's the pressure he's facing from the government to hand over his Iron Man tech. It's a lot for one man to handle. Even a genius billionaire playboy philanthropist.
Exactly. And this is where your source makes a fascinating connection to the Demon in a Bottle storyline from the comics.
Wait, the Demon in a Bottle storyline. That's the one where Tony battles alcoholism, right?
Exactly. And while the film doesn't explicitly, depict that struggle, Tony's arc in Iron Man 2 kind of subtly mirrors those themes of addiction and responsibility. It foreshadows those more prominent explorations of these themes in later MCU films.
Wow, I never caught that connection before. It makes you realize just how much thought went into crafting these films, even if certain storylines aren't directly adapted.
It's a testament to the writers and the filmmakers. They understand that sometimes the most powerful stories are told between the lines.
We've gone from villain shakeups and casting changes to groundbreaking visual effects and surprisingly deep themes. What's the biggest takeaway for you, having explored all these sources on Iron Man 2?
I think what's so fascinating is how this massive blockbuster, it really gives us this glimpse, behind the curtain of filmmaking. Iron Man 2 reminds us that even these huge, superhero epics are the result of countless decisions, compromises, sometimes happy accidents,
Yeah.
A real testament to that collaborative spirit of filmmaking.
Yeah. It's like we've taken apart the Iron Man suit piece by piece. Right?
Yeah.
We're seeing all the intricate parts and how they work together to create, the finished product.
Exactly. And that's what makes these deep dives so rewarding. You know, we're not just watching the movie. We're understanding the journey. We're understanding the choices that shaped it. It adds a whole other layer of appreciation.
Absolutely. Knowing what went on behind the scenes.
Yeah.
The creative debates, the technical hurdles. It makes you appreciate the film on a whole other level.
It's like there are so many, fascinating threads we could pull on with this film. Your source material even mentioned the Demon in a Bottle storyline, almost making it into the final cut.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
Now that would have been a powerful direction to take the story. Imagine seeing Tony Stark battling alcoholism, on top of everything else that he's dealing with.
I know it's intriguing to think about, what could have been. It reminds us that, that the films that we see are just one possibility out of many. There are countless creative paths not taken, alternate universes where different choices were made.
It makes you wonder, would the MCU be the phenomenon it is today if they'd gone down that path with Tony's character in Iron Man 2? Something to ponder.
Definitely. And that's the beauty of these deep dives. They leave you with these lingering questions, these new perspectives, and a thirst to, explore further.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Mm-hmm.
A big thanks to you and to all of you listening for joining us on this deep dive into the making of Iron Man 2. Until next time, keep exploring.